Copyright expired.
Part 2 of cartoon characters that sound like other cartoon characters, because there's a lot of them. So without further ado, Patrick Warburton has an iconic voice, undeniably. So with that being said, it only makes sense that that same voice has appeared on a wide variety of TV shows, most notably and iconically being Joe Swanson from Family Guy and Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. A lot of y'all might not have noticed just how similar their voices are, but take a listen and see for yourself.
Right, the poison for Cusco, the poison chosen specially to kill Cusco's poison.
She is just so smoking hot. God, I would do things to her that she would probably laugh at. You bitch!
And I think it's even more funny because Emperor's New Groove is obviously a children's movie, but Family Guy is a very edgy, at the very least, not for kids kind of show. And with that clip I just showed you, it featured Joe swearing and saying the word,
"You bitch!"
But just close your eyes and think about Kronk. I know it's hard to picture him mad, but if he did, I bet he would sound just like Joe. It's kind of scary, imagine. So I think it's safe to assume that if Kronk was mad, he would sound like Joe, at least when he screams. That's terrifying. Imagine that voice coming out of Kronk, man. But that's a reason why I think his voice is so versatile. Because they sound similar, but their personalities make them different enough to stand out separately. Because Kronk is so bubbly, optimistic, and kind, whereas Joe is more of a good cop, bad cop, being able to scream in that typical authoritarian voice, while impressively keeping his cartoony, exaggerated, and memey comedic voice. Still, I mean, I can't lie, that's impressive. It may be the same voice, but it's the tone and emotion he uses in that voice that separates them and gives them character. Pretty cool, huh? Butowski's Stubborn or Suburban Daredevil? I always got those two confused. It's a long ass title for a kid's show. Obviously just known as Kick Butowski. Very underrated show. And a show I forget sometimes is a Disney show because it doesn't fit the typical, pitch perfect, clean, and in my opinion, not funny style of Disney. Don't get me wrong, Disney is legendary when it comes to animation at least, but they're not the funniest. That's why I've always liked Looney Tunes personally. But before I get off topic anymore, you gotta have that one stupid friend or dim-witted friend in a cartoon that's friends with the protagonist. And in this series, it's no other than Gunther, I think, right? Not the penguin from Adventure Time, but or Gunther, whichever one. They're interchangeable, right? A Scandinavian, I believe, a white boy that has a voice that you might have recognized. Take a listen.
Hey there, I sure hope you're a bag of garbage, cause I want to take you out this Wednesday.
If that voice at all sounds familiar, which it should, it's because he also has the same voice as Hector from Sanjay and Craig of all shows. I'm not even kidding.
Bomb Club! Bomb Club! Yeah!
Sanjay and Craig is a very infamous show, understandably so, but it was a guilty pleasure of mine, in all honesty. It's one of those shows that's so stupid, but is funny and not insulting like most things nowadays. Say what you want about the show, the voice acting was pretty decent when it comes to Hector. I didn't even mention that iconic voice belonged to a man by the name of Matt Jones, who is a pretty renowned voice actor, and even comedian, believe it or not. Obviously appearing on these cartoons that I mentioned. But it makes sense that he's a comedian. I mean, that voice alone is timeless. Clearly, if he used the exact same voice for two essentially completely different characters from two completely different series that really don't relate to one another at all, other than the fact that they're both cartoons. And they both ride skateboards in the theme song. And they both have weird endings. Okay, maybe they're kind of similar, but for all the wrong reasons. But Matt Jones really is a versatile as fuck voice actor, and actor specifically. Being able to play both those roles is pretty impressive and honest. He's a bit underrated. I wish I would hear his voice more often because obviously these shows didn't last too long. So I doubt anybody, or a handful of the world, who hasn't heard this voice, which is scary to think because his voice should have been used a lot, especially in cartoons nowadays. But at least, hey, he got to make the most of it in the 2010s. That's for damn sure. I also forgot to mention that Matt Jones is also, on top of everything else that I previously mentioned, a rapper, which makes complete sense because even in his animated characters, both Hector and Gunther rap in their respective shows. That's talent right there. And I can safely say, both shows have the weirdest endings I've seen in a cartoon. Sanjay and Craig ends with his family going to Bollywood, whereas Kick Butowski ends with Kick doing a sick ass dance for the internet with lifeless Gunther in the background holding the radio. I mean, the dance is fire, don't get me wrong, along with the song. I actually kind of like it unironically. There's a fucking plane going on in the background, and it should have been gone by now, so I apologize, but hopefully my snowball mic at least makes it better than if I weren't to. But in all seriousness, both shows I think y'all should check. Particularly Kick Butowski. It's a little less insulting, I'll admit, but yeah, I'm gonna stop recording because this plane is like probably like the FBI trying to track me down. So let's move on to the next list. Bob's Burgers. Like I mentioned, funnily enough, in my last video on the same topic, you should probably watch my original video too if you haven't. Speaking of, subscribe while you're at it, and I love you forever. But one of Bob's children actually sounds like another character from a children's show. So thankfully, it isn't an adult show, like how it was with Archer and Bob originally. Check my first video. But Louise Belcher sounds like Mabel Pines. Kinda down to the, nail, if that's even how you say it. But in all seriousness, they really do. Christian Skrull, who voices both of these characters, she is a very talented voice actor whose voice you've probably even heard on other shows, like Adventure Time, one of Jake's children to be exact. And I just realized I should have said to be specific, because to be exact, it doesn't make sense, because Jake has multiple children. Anyways, it's funny because, like I mentioned in my other videos, given that both of these shows have different age demographics they're targeted towards, more particularly with Bob's Burgers, it's interesting that Kristen Skulls retains her voice for both characters, but they still give off different feels, vibes, and personalities from each other. And this goes way beyond the fact that they just had different art styles as well. Because they're both still kids, dare I say even around the same age. But while Louise is very optimistic and bubbly on the surface, she's actually very cynical and evil deep inside. But Mabel is actually very, as she portrays, being very bubbly and wanting the best for everyone. Shows you how some can be deceiving. I guess Louise is probably how Mabel would be in the adult show or even in real life. Maybe not, but either way, it's still cool to know.